Xbox announces the games coming to Gamepass for the month of September, Ubisoft has some major leaks when it comes to Assassin's Creed, and Stadia has posted the latest This Week on Stadia blog post, which includes an update about Cyberpunk 2077. We'll be breaking down the latest in the cloud gaming space, so let's get to it. We're going to begin by talking about the crazy leaks surrounding Ubisoft. Now, as with all of these, just take it with a grain of salt. That being said, it's coming from very credible sources in the leaking scene, not to mention it's also been confirmed by Jason Schreier. Regardless, all of it stems from Tom Henderson, who yesterday morning leaked that Assassin's Creed has 5 titles in development. Yes, that's right, Ubisoft is developing 5 different Assassin's Creed titles right now. That includes Assassin's Creed Mirage, which has a Baghdad setting, Assassin's Creed Project Red, which has a Japan setting, Assassin's Creed Project Hex, a Central European setting, Assassin's Creed Project Jade, which is a mobile title with a China setting, and Assassin's Creed Project Nexus, which is their VR title, alongside Assassin's Creed Valhalla DLC. I do want to point out that both Red and Hex are apparently a part of Assassin's Creed Infinity, which is the platform for Assassin's Creed going forward. What that means? Well, I'm sure we'll learn more about it on Saturday at the Ubisoft Forward event. My current take on this is that it's kind of cool, but I'm a fan of Assassin's Creed. That said, I do gotta say that this seems like franchise overload. But I do also think it may only feel like that because we haven't actually seen how they're gonna announce these titles. We've been told that Assassin's Creed Infinity is the future platform for the franchise. It could very well be that Red comes along with Infinity and Hex is just the following expansion to it. And if we take into account the other leaks that we heard not long ago about Assassin's Creed Mirage kind of being a stepping stone between Valhalla and Infinity, it makes a ton of sense that they would have at least these 3 to showcase. There's a good chance the mobile title is its own thing with its own dev team. This will probably be something we see a lot more of going forward as well with other AAA franchises. And the VR title was something that was announced way back in 2020, so I think it's only about time that we start to really see where it's at and when it's coming. Regardless, it's fair to say that Assassin's Creed fans are gonna be eating. Let me know how you feel about it though. Do you think this is just way too much Assassin's Creed, or do you think it's not enough? For now, let's switch things up and talk about Xbox. Microsoft has announced the titles coming to Xbox Game Pass for the month of September. First up, we're going to be listing the games that are available via the cloud, and that includes Disney Dreamlight Valley, DC League of Super Pets, The Adventures of Crypto and Ace, and You Suck at Parking. Titles only available via the console and PC include Train Sim World 3, D-Spot's Game, and Metal Hellsinger. And lastly, only on PC titles include Opus Magnum and Ashes of the Singularity Escalation. Now I do want to add a bit of a disclaimer, sometimes the games that aren't currently listed for cloud end up getting supported on the cloud. It's happened a few times with these announcements, and if it happens again, I'll be sure to update you all when you can play it. Other than that, I do want to point out that there are a list of games leaving on September 15th, so if you haven't already, make sure you play the following titles. That includes A Plague Tale: Innocence, Origami 2, Bug Fables: The Everlasting Sapling, Craftopia, Final Fantasy XIII, Flynn: Son of Crimson, I Am Fish, Lost Words: Beyond the Page, Mighty Goose, Skatebird, and The Artful Escape. Every single one of those is available on the cloud, so feel free to check them out if you haven't already. But now let's talk about Google Stadia and see what's new over there. Truth be told, the latest This Week on Stadia blog post is pretty lacking. Now, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing considering Ubisoft Forward is happening Saturday and they're one of the biggest supporters in the cloud. But for now, let's focus on what actually got announced for Stadia, and that's Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach receiving an update to add the Stadia exclusive feature Crowd Choice to the game. In this specific case, streamers can now give the audience the power to choose which route the streamer should take, which to be honest, I think is a pretty fun feature to include. But besides that, there wasn't much else Stadia specific news to share. They did mention that Dead by Daylight's Resident Evil Project W DLC is now available, and did talk about the Cyberpunk 2077 Edge Runners update that's currently happening, but I'll talk about that in its own separate news section. They did also mention that you can do free trials of Elemental War 2, Tri-6 Infinite, the House of the Dead remake, Panzer Dragoon remake, and Just Shapes and Beats as well. Like I said, not too much Stadia dedicated news, but hey, Ubisoft Forward is happening, so I'm not too upset really. But now let's get to that actual Cyberpunk update, which does include Stadia. The Cyberpunk 2077 Edge Runners update is a pretty big deal because it includes quite a few things for you to check out. It coincides with the anime release that's happening over on Netflix, and I gotta say it looks like a good stepping stone toward what they're building for the future. More about that in just a second, but for now let's focus on what you can check out right now. There's finally transmog for armor. That means you can dress whatever way you want and bring over the armor stats that you desire. No longer do you have to look weird and wacky in this beautiful world, and I gotta say this is a long time coming. There are also 3 new gigs that you can check out. These are side quests within the open world for you to play through. They've also added a ton of weapons, both ranged and melee, along with an Edge Runners content pack which includes items inspired by the upcoming Edge Runners anime. All of this is in a free update and available right now. You can play it on Stadia and GeForce Now. Interestingly enough, they did add cross progression between both the PC and console versions of the game, but the Stadia version as of right now doesn't have any way to transfer save data. Hopefully they'll find a way to add this, but for now, if you play on GFN, well, you can take advantage of that feature as well. Now, along with that update, a bunch of bugs and fixes as well as just changes to the overall gameplay experience were added, but the more important thing is that alongside this, they announced the first DLC for the game. Scratch that, they made sure to call it an expansion, so I would expect it to be fairly big. Its title, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. Honestly, I think the trailer looks sick and I can't wait, but best of all, I actually think it's really cool to see that they've decided to drop last-gen consoles here. Phantom Liberty will only be available on PC and next-gen consoles, along with Stadia. Simply fantastic news for Stadia gamers out there, and I'm sure many people are very excited to hear it. It means CD Projekt Red themselves see it as a next-gen system, it's just not defined by being a console. I think it's also safe to assume that GeForce Now players will be able to enjoy this expansion, as CD Projekt Red currently supports pretty much all of their games on the service, and I myself can't wait to dive headfirst into this expansion. I actually really like Cyberpunk 2077. Despite all its flaws, I actually think a really good game lies underneath. It's just you have to have the right expectations. People really overhyped what it was gonna be, and that's partly due in fault to CD Projekt Red for talking about it the way they did. The game obviously needed some more time in the oven, but I will give credit to CD Projekt Red for continuously working on it and improving the overall experience. The game you get right now is already much better than what came out at launch, and that's due to the dedication of the team and promise to actually fix the game. Regardless, I'd like to pose the question to you. Are you excited for this new expansion? Do you think the Edge Runners update is something to be hyped about? And just in general, do you think CD Projekt Red has done enough to fix what Cyberpunk 2077 was at launch? Either way, that wraps up this Cloud Gaming News Day. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful at all, be sure to hit that like button as it really does help the channel out, and if you're wanting more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. Today's end of video message is simply going to be asking you whether or not you'd want to see a live stream of the Ubisoft Forward event that's happening this Saturday. If so, let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, if you haven't already, be sure to join our community Discord, links in the description below as well. Thanks for watching the video, I hope you have a great day. This has been the Virtual Cloud, giving you the latest and greatest on everything cloud gaming related, and until next time, I'll catch you in the clouds.